But what I've introduced is a practice, actually a different model called unified mindfulness, and it expands practice to include any quality that makes you happy, flourishing as a human being. So that just opens up a whole range of qualities to develop, things like curiosity and awe and patience, and so we can use the practice to develop these qualities that we want to bring into our life. And gratitude is a really important one. What I'm going to do tonight is we'll talk about what is gratitude and what skills do we need in order to be grateful, and how can we practice gratitude. But before we do, I want to start with mindfulness practice, because like so many of the positive qualities in our life, whether you just want to be more productive at work or be more patient with your loved ones, it requires mindfulness skills, the ability to choose what to pay attention to. Remember what skill that is? Of the three skills?
Concentration.
Yes, concentration. Yeah, concentration is a mindfulness skill of the three. It's just defined as the ability to choose what to focus on, what to pay attention, that you feel is important. Huge skill in the world we live in that's constantly distracting us, telling us shiny objects everywhere, okay? And our brains are actually changing. So developing the skill of concentration is so important. And with gratitude, we need that because we have to choose what positive thing in our life do we need to be grateful for. So it's important to have the skill, mindfulness skill of concentration. And then the second skill, do you remember what the second skill is?
Clarity.
Yes, I always count on these, they remember. Yeah, so clarity is the second skill. And that's just defining that you can track your experience. You know the details of what you're experiencing. So that when we look at a tanka, you can determine the colors, the shapes. You appreciate it because you have that skill of clarity. So you have concentration and you have clarity. And that's how you appreciate it. And we need it for gratitude. Otherwise, we don't really know the qualities that we're appreciating, okay? And then the third skill is equanimity. And why do we need equanimity to be grateful? Why would you guess? Balance, yes. I was going to give a hint.
Okay.
What happens if you eat 5 pieces of chocolate cake? Like my friend Robin gave me chocolate chip cookies tonight. There's a whole thing of them there, I'm going to try to use equanimity. And equanimity is just defined as you're neither fighting with your experience, like when the planes go over tonight, we don't have to try to push that away. We can just be present for it. And we don't hang on. So we don't eat 5 pieces of chocolate cake because at some point, what they call a hedonic treadmill, meaning at some point pleasure peaks and then it goes down. So we need equanimity with gratitude so that when we're grateful for people or things in our lives, we don't hang on to it. Try to hang on to somebody you're grateful to and you'll drive them crazy. Tell them 100 times you're grateful. Enough, okay? So we need all 3 skills. And then lastly, before we practice, the unified mindfulness model has a great metaphor. I like it a lot. And it's because I go to LA Fitness, and the gym is an important experience for me. So the metaphor is that our mindfulness can be thought of like a gym. The gym is our sensory experience. What we see, what we hear, and what we feel. both inside and outside. I always challenge groups, can anybody think of one thing that doesn't fit in see, hear, or feel? One thing that you experience. Sometimes people have come up with intuition, but what I would say is intuition is a combination of this sense of body feeling and thoughts. We put them together, we even say our gut, and now we know that gut microbiome is really emotionally and even intellectually another brain. So everything fits in see, hear, feel. That's the gym we work in with mindfulness. And the muscles that we're building, just like at the gym, are these three skills: concentration, clarity, and equanimity. So in the gym of our sensory experience, we can work with these three skills. And then lastly is the equipment we use at the gym of our sensory experience is, and I've gone over this in the past, but noting. And noting is just you spend those few seconds really concentrating on either what you choose or what happens. So when the plane goes over tonight, which it will, you could either kind of fight with it, but that's not going to do any good, or you could just shift your attention and really listen to the sounds. It can be very interesting. So the equipment we use at the gym is whatever sensory experience we're having that we can use noting and labeling. And labeling is just naming it, see, hear, or feel. Any questions about that before we do it? Because I'm fond of the idea that all this is talk, and practice is the most important thing. It's what we do and how we live mindfulness, not how we explain it. So, with that in mind, I'll shut up and we'll do it, okay? So I'm going to lead us through a little tour of the senses. How many people are new tonight for the first time? So a few, okay. And some of you may have come and gone, so I'll give us a little bit of an explanation, and if I do it right, I'll shut up. Okay, there's nothing worse than a mindfulness teacher who talks through the whole meditation, and a lot of us do. So let's start with see, and we know that there's two ways to direct our attention. We can see out in the world, and we can see in that mental screen where we notice images. So for example, right now, picture your favorite food and notice where it shows up in your mind. And you might even have your hand placed where it is. Many people, it's like right behind their eyes. Yours is right here. Right? Yeah, so many people see it. Mine's over here. Our brains are different, but a bowl of ice cream is just popping up right here. I can see it. So that we call a see in. See out is obvious. It's the chandelier, it's anything out in the world. Hear in, same thing. Hear in and hear out. If you recite your phone number to yourself silently, you can hear it. We're chattering all the time to ourselves. And there's actually, we call it talk space. There's a place you can actually identify where you hear it. And mine is right here. For some people, it's between their ears. And you can just get used to noticing where you're talking to yourself, because then it makes it easy to be mindful about it. Oh, there I go again. You can hear it. And hear out is all the sounds in the environment. So we call hear both of those things, in and out. See, in and out. And then feel, it's a little more complicated, but feel out is the body. All the sensations of the body, including taste, smell, anything to do with the body, touch. And then feel in are emotions. And every emotion shows up in the body, but a lot of us are not tuned in to our emotions, and so we don't even know they're there. But as you practice, you get more emotionally intelligent, and you can notice that they're popping up. So it's important. Now I've already violated my rule. I've talked more than, saying, come on, can we have some peace and quiet? But I want to give you an explanation, because we're going to, tonight with gratitude, we're going to really use see in and hear in and feel in. That'll be the primary instruments we'll use for gratitude. So before that, let's go ahead and start with see in. And you might assume a mindfulness posture, maybe lengthening the spine, sitting upright, but comfortable. And then relaxing the shoulders, relax your jaw. And we want to create a posture that allows us to be alert, but relaxed. That's the meeting point of mindfulness. And you can do this with eyes open or closed, whatever is best for you. And let's start with see in, and notice if anything pops up in that image space. And if there's nothing there, that's an experience of rest, emptiness. And now we can shift to see out, either with your eyes closed. Notice the dark screen that maybe has some light, or if the eyes are open, notice what you see out. And rest your attention there. That's what the noting is. A few seconds of really concentrating to let it sink in. Now we can shift our attention to hear out and just be aware of all the sounds that are in the environment. Either pick one or be open to all of them. Now, let's do hear in, and notice where talk space shows up for you. Notice if you're telling yourself, we would call it thinking, notice if you're telling yourself any stories right now. And if it's empty, which sometimes it is, experience that as a moment of rest. Okay, we can let go of here, and let's do feel. We'll start with feel out. Notice any sensations that you feel in your body. It could be maybe your feet on the floor, or if there's discomfort, just notice that. And let's feel out. And again, rest your attention there for just a few seconds, and then bring it back to what you feel. And then lastly, after this tour of the senses, notice if any emotions are showing up. And it could be anything from you're anxious or bored. And notice where in the body it's showing up. Might be sleepy. And you can just label that feel. Okay, so now let's do see, hear, feel everything. And I really am going to be quiet. So allow your attention to move freely between see, in or out, hear, in or out, or feel. Wherever your attention goes, spend a few seconds focusing on it. You can even use a label, see, hear, or feel. And then let it go and see where your attention, or notice where your attention goes next. Label it, let it go, and repeat. And let's do this for about 5 minutes. Wherever the attention lands, decide is it see, hear, or feel. You might use the label, spend a few seconds concentrating on the experience, and then let it go and see where your attention goes next. And repeat. Notice that with this form of mindfulness, there are no distractions. There's nothing we have to get rid of. People talking, hear. Pain in the knee, feel. Breeze blowing, feel. So let's just take another minute to end the meditation. And if it's your practice, maybe taking a few deeper than normal breaths, letting go. And then when you're ready, bring attention back into the room. Okay. So before we move to gratitude, let me ask you, The traditional, which we all learned and is practiced here, the traditional mindfulness practice is to use the breath, right? The Buddha taught it, but what a lot of people don't know is the Buddha also taught this expanded sense practice. If you look at the suttas, the Buddha talks about everything that you experience, and it's very graphic. It's even things like urination, and if you read the suttas, the Buddha said everything can be an object of our mindfulness. So this is not a modern invention. It goes all the way back to the Buddha. So with the traditional practice of the breath, which by the way is not for everybody, what we know with trauma-informed mindfulness, that if you're highly anxious, and I spent years fighting with my breath because I was anxious. I shouldn't have been using the breath as an object. Or if you have respiratory problems and you feel like you have asthma, you don't want to focus on the breath. So it's not best for everybody. But in the see, hear, feel model, how would we categorize, which is perfectly fine, focusing on the breath? What would that be? Feel. So so it's a form of feel, right? You're feeling the breath. So it's perfectly fine to do that. But this model gives you more options. Particularly, don't be doing breath awareness with your eyes closed when you're on the freeway. Because most people say, I can't meditate when I'm on the freeway. That's crazy. Oh, yes, you can. You're doing see, hear, feel, and you're probably the best driver. I want to be driving next to you because you're totally aware and totally non-reactive. Okay? So, we're going to use these practices tonight. Now, gratitude, as I said, I think it's one of my favorite practices. I keep a gratitude journal. I've experienced what I'm going to talk about tonight, and we're going to do it. So I use ChatGPT for everything. I was telling my friend Robin, it's now helping me with my 77-year-old memory lapses, which are within the normal curve, but if I can't think of a word, I can either wait, but now I use ChatGPT and it comes up just like that. So I start with what is gratitude. Here's what ChatGPT says, and it's pretty accurate. Gratitude is a positive emotional response or attitude of appreciation and thankfulness towards someone or something. It involves recognizing the good things in your life and acknowledging the kindness or benefits received from others. Gratitude can be directed toward people, nature, events, or even life itself. In other words, we can learn to be grateful and appreciate everything. And I want to recommend a book. All my friends have been burdened with me giving this as a gift, okay? It's a book I've read and reread. It's called Thanks 1,000 by A Gratitude Journey by H.A. Jacobs. Has anybody read it? You know about it. Okay. You do too.
No, sorry. Can you repeat it?
Sure. It's Thanks 1,000, A Gratitude Journey by H.A. Jacobs. It's on Amazon. It's in Kindle. It's a thin little book, and it's really funny. This guy is a humorous researcher. And what he does, just real quickly, it sort of speaks to the curiosity we can bring to our lives to be grateful. What he does is one day he's at Joe's Coffee House, which I know in New York City. I used to go there. And he would go every morning. And one morning he began to ask himself, gee, this barista is so kind to me. I'm grateful to her. She shows up. She gives me coffee. He thanked her. She said thank you. And then he began to question, well, wait a minute, what about, how do the beans get here? Who provides the beans? So what does he do? He goes to the roasting building, talks to the people that secure and roast the beans. He thanks them. They've never been thanked before by a customer. And the long story short, he ends up going to, I think he goes to Colombia to actually thank the people who grow the beans. And all the way down the line, everybody that touches his cup of coffee, including the workers in the reservoir in New York City, including the people that go and scoop out the deer poop so it doesn't get in the water. Everybody, he thanks them. And that's what this book is about. It's a gratitude journey. And then along the way, he adds little tidbits about what gratitude is and what it does for us. So it's a great delight. And I bring it up because not only is it a great primer for gratitude, but it speaks to this idea that we're missing much of what we can be grateful for. For example, he looks at those plastic tops that come in every single paper-to-go cup. There is actually a couple who invented them. He found them and he went and thanked them because otherwise he wouldn't have the top of his coffee. So what I want to challenge you with is if we look around with curiosity, there's a million things that we can be grateful for, that we take for granted. So, usually what I want to do is I want to ask, what is the quality? And the quality is gratitude, appreciation, thankfulness. And then I also want to ask, why do we do it? And that's where, just real briefly, I'll reference the science, because there is some really beginning but solid science behind the quality of gratitude, why it's good for us. And a website and an organization I'd highly recommend is the Greater Good Science Center at UC Berkeley. If you just go online to Greater Good Science Center, they've got a million things about, and really good research reports that we can read and understand about gratitude. So here's what one study from Greater Good Science came up with. Why is it good for us? Well, first of all, it's a spiritual practice. So if you use that as a way to explain, it's quality of our spiritual life. But for the science, one is, as they put it, gratitude unshackles us from toxic emotions. You can't be negative and be grateful in the same moment. You can't view a person or event as totally negative if you have some gratitude. So it decouples us from a life or a habit of toxic emotions. Gratitude helps us even if we don't share it. And where that study comes from is that, it's often advised to write a gratitude letter to somebody alive or dead who you really are grateful for. The research shows that even if you don't go thank that person or you don't give them a letter, you have the same benefits. It's really interesting. You have the same appreciation, even if you don't go do it. And then the third thing is gratitude takes time. And there's a variety of studies. One study says that within 7 days of doing a gratitude journal, there's a measure of change on measures like depression, anxiety. And then there's larger studies that basically say within 4 weeks you begin to get more permanent, lasting changes in your experience. And that speaks to what they're studying is the effects on the brain. So just as a highlight, in the MRI scans, greater activation of the prefrontal cortex, that decision-making, emotional regulation function, the gratitude practice shows a lasting effect. And in some studies, if you do like a month of gratitude, those effects can show up 3 months later for people in terms of brain function. So there's lasting benefits. And then some of the personal benefits are things like better psychological and physical health, increased happiness and life satisfaction. You know, grateful people are happier people, without a doubt. And then happier people are grateful people as well. And then lastly, interesting decreased materialism. When people do a gratitude exercise and then have to go out and are asked to give money or contribute time, we do it more than if we don't practice. So, if for no other reason, there's all kinds of benefits for practicing gratitude. Now, the most important part is, as I said before, not me rattling on about convincing you of what you know about it, but how do we develop it? How, again, what is it, why do we do it, and how do we do it? This is the most important part. Because if you want to be happier, have a better brain, and appreciate your life before it slips away, we need to practice. Okay? So there's a couple ways to do that. One is, and we're going to do it tonight, is just the meditation practice itself. But the other way is a gratitude journal. How many people do a gratitude journal or have ever done it? Great, okay, a lot of people. Yeah, what we tend to do is we do it for a while, and we I do it for a while, I have a little journal. It's great to get a nice little book you love, and just sit down every morning or night, and all you have to do is list maybe 3 things or 5 things that you're grateful for. And when I teach this, people after a few days will say, I'm running out of things to be grateful for. And they say, well, when that happens to me, it's like I'm missing, something. Just sit with it, meditate with it, and it'll pop up. And you'll begin to realize you're grateful for the cup, the top of the cup that takes your coffee away, by which you take your coffee. So one thing is a gratitude journal. And the way you can do it is, again, get a book you love, or paper. And there's also good evidence that writing it out in handwriting, it encodes it in the brain in a different way than if we type it out or we just say it. So that's what the science says. Write it out. Write it out every day. 3 things, 5 things. And then what I would challenge you to do is try it for a week. A week steady. And then assess at the end of that week what you're experiencing. And again, all the science supports huge benefits. So one way to develop gratitude is to do a journal. Another way to develop it is to develop the skill of curiosity. When we're children, we're very curious. I remember we used to get so upset because my family did, because my little nephew Paul, who was 5 playing soccer, he'd be out there and suddenly a bee would come along or a flower. He was just incredibly curious, and there goes the soccer ball, And the adults would get all upset, and yet we recognized that we had lost that skill. So just developing, be curious about what's in your life, inside and outside, that you can be grateful for. And then the last thing is, and we're going to practice it now, is the meditation as a skill to develop the experience of gratitude. And that's how I want to go back to, before I shut up and we do it, is I want to go back to what I said earlier with see, hear, feel. We're going to use, in the meditation, we're going to use the see in, and we're going to use hear in, so we're going to use a word or phrase, and then we're going to be noticing if any feelings come up. What does gratitude feel like? And it may or may not happen at any one moment, but the more you practice, the more it becomes instant. I know over the years what's happened for me is that I, in a moment, can feel grateful now, whereas for me it was always kind of intellectual and I'll gotten away, but now it just pops up. So before we do that, let's do, although if you've got something to write with, you could do it. But let's just do a thought experiment that you could do home as well with writing. But let's go ahead and do a gratitude exercise. So with eyes open or closed, maybe think of 5 things slowly that you're grateful for in your life. 5 things. And when you pick the first one, use your mindfulness to really just pay attention to it. Okay? And then when the second one pops up, notice it. And then the third, fourth, and fifth. And it could be as simple as your morning coffee, or as complex as the person you love the most in the world. Okay, is that enough time? Did everybody have time to get 3 to 5 things? I'm not going to do to you what I hate when a teacher says, turn to the person next to you and share. I'm a shy person, believe it or not, and I don't like doing that. So I won't do that tonight. If you share, okay? So does anybody want to share maybe one thing that came up for you that you're grateful for? Yeah, probably.
I'm grateful for my dog.
Your dog. Oh. How many people are grateful for a pet? Oh, look at that. Look at that. This is what happens. We're more alike than we are different. Fantastic. I feel the same way. Oh, fantastic. Did everybody hear that? He has a roaring toothache. I'm sorry. Bummer. You know, that brings up a real, I wasn't going to do it tonight because, well, for lots of reasons, but one way to appreciate what we have is to focus on what we don't have. There's actually a practice, a mindfulness practice that, and I don't do it with groups because if you're really sensitive to some things or a lot of loss is going on, you don't want to move into the negative. But just think about what it would be like if you didn't have the thing that you just were grateful for. And you've had that experience. Yeah, your toothache makes you appreciate that some of the teeth don't hurt. That's gratitude, absolutely. And it is so, I do this practice. Sometimes people I love, I know it sounds crazy, I think about what it would be like if they weren't here anymore. You can only spend a little bit of time doing that, and then you move right to, oh my goodness, I don't care what their flaws are. I'm so grateful they're around. So it's almost like the negative can make us appreciate what we've got. What else came up in your gratitude practice? Yes, Robin.
I often have this feeling of being grateful for my home. Just the fact that it's there and it's comfortable, and I just feel so grateful for having it.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, I do the same thing because I so much take for granted how comfortable we live. And I've traveled to India, I think 5 times or 4 times, and you know, when you go to another country that doesn't live, I mean, in the cities people do, but in the villages, I always think, oh my goodness, a hot shower at the turn of a knob, air conditioning, you know, flush toilet. Yeah. So, you know, again, you could sit in your house and think about, what if I didn't have any of this? Boy, am I grateful, you know, especially. How many people were grateful for their home or house? Look at a ton of people. Yeah. What else? Another, yes? Books? Yes. Yes, absolutely. Especially as books have, you know, they've gone digital. So, you know, and my little phone is a huge library. But I always try to keep reading paper books too, because there's something special about them. You know, so.
I think the branch here and you, because it's grounding. I feel like after a whole busy day, coming here, it's just thank you.
Yeah. So what you said is just being here, this place, this temple, this community, and the people who share their practice. Yeah. Yeah. You know, when I tell friends who live elsewhere about the Dharma Bum Temple, I keep saying it's so unique. You know, it is a community like no other. So. Well, I think, you know, what you can see is that not only do we have different things we're grateful for, but we share them as well. So let's go ahead and use, so I said we could do a journal. So if you're going to sit down in the morning, you meditate, or you exercise, whatever you do, take 5 minutes and do what we just did, but write it down. And then what you'll find after a few days, there's my morning coffee again. Okay, keep putting it down, but what will pop up is something you never thought about. And you're expanding your realm of gratitude. You're expanding your appreciation for your life. So you can do it in a journal. But you can also do it in a meditation. So let's go ahead and spend the next few minutes meditating with a gratitude practice. And we're going to use see in, hear in, and feel in. And the see in might be, pick one of those things you identified that you just thought of, and we use that for the meditation. So assuming a mindfulness posture that's right for you, lengthening the spine, sitting upright and alerts the mind, and relaxing your shoulders, relax your jaw, so you can be alert but comfortable. And you can do this with eyes open or closed, whatever is best for you. And now bring to mind and see in an image of one of those things you identified you're grateful for. It could be an object, a person, an event. And just note it. And you can spend a few seconds really concentrating on it. And use your clarity to notice the details. What does that person's face look like? What are the details of your pet? And when you get distracted, which we all do, that's normal, just bring your attention back to the image, an image space. And now we'll add a here in, and you might choose a word or phrase that connects you to the image. So it could be as simple as thank you, or I appreciate, or I'm grateful. Any phrase or word that you can connect to the image, and just softly, silently repeat that at a steady pace as you notice the image. And I'll be quiet now so you can do that. When the attention naturally wanders, just bring it back. Note the image, see it, and note the phrase, hear it. We could add one more element of feel. Just be open to any emotion that shows up in the body as you focus on what you're grateful for. And you can support it by even putting a slight smile on your face. That can light up the brain for positivity. So we'll spend a few minutes, and I'll be quiet, going between the image you see in, the phrase you hear in, and the feeling, any feeling that comes up. That may be grateful, loving, kind. Get distracted, just come back to what you see, what you hear, and what you feel. And let's do 2 more minutes of this practice. So we can end the gratitude meditation with maybe a couple deep breaths. And when you're ready, bringing attention back into the room. Okay, we just have a few minutes, but I'm interested in what you experienced. Would anybody like to share what happened?
Joy.
Joy?
Yeah, and when you said put a smile on your face, it's hard for me not to sit here and
I can
yeah,
see.
I can feel the joy from the
Just
gratitude.
rose up. Yeah. Wow. And that's, so important because we can intellectually say, oh yeah, I really appreciate having a house, blah, 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 and explain it. But it's a different thing when we not only see it, but that we have the clarity to really know the details and then, important, feel it. Feel it. Because there's a theory in cognitive science now that go back and forth, is that, the idea is we have a thought and an emotion, but now cognitive scientists are telling us it's actually the opposite as well. We have emotions and then we rationalize them. So a lot of things we believe, particularly politically, have more to do with we feel something and then we come up with an explanation. So it's really important to tune into what we feel so we know, where we're coming from. Yeah, thanks for that. How about others? Anybody want to share? Yes.
I feel very happy. I want to be grateful, but it's just a very nice experience.
Very happy. Yeah, I can tell. Happy. Isn't it amazing how you didn't have to go to Disneyland? Disneyland. You didn't have to go somewhere. You can come here and sit on a Wednesday night and you can make yourself happy. That's terrific. How about others? What happened? Yes.
Obviously, for back to the smiling practice itself, it always reminds me of because you're creating that triangle, those two active points on the edge of the mouth, bilateral. So
Yes.
doing that is bringing more positive energy to that moment.
Yes. So putting the smile on your face creates that triangle. Yeah, I know when I first heard somebody suggest that, I thought, isn't that silly? A goofy grin. You don't have to have a goofy grin, but it really is true that the body cues us as to what we can experience. So that even putting a slight smile on your face can foster that feel in as well. So maybe another. Anybody else want to share what happened? Including if it was difficult or it didn't work. Yes.
Yeah, well, I struggled a little bit. It was difficult for me because I haven't really practiced this before. So it's
Was it difficult to concentrate on it? Or?
yes, it was difficult to concentrate a bit. I'm also a bit tired. It's been a long day, so maybe that has something to do with it.
Yes.
But I know there's gratitude there. It's just hard to the whole, the inward part is difficult for me right
Yeah.
now. Yeah.
Well, I admire you all. At the end of a long Wednesday, you come here and close your eyes. It's easy for me because I'm teaching. But yeah, so, we want to be kind to ourselves about that. And then the other thing I would say is that the daily meditation you do is a skill training for increasing that concentration. Because again, with gratitude, as I said at the beginning, we're using all three skills. We're concentrating, we're choosing what's important to pay attention to, and then we're noticing the details, the clarity, and then with the equanimity, we're not getting caught in fighting with it or explaining it. And what I would say is the more clarity you have, the easier it is to concentrate. And some things you can do when you get sleepy with meditation is open your eyes. I remember I couldn't believe that you could can meditate with your eyes open. Zen students do, but you can do it. And then the other thing is you can always sit up straighter or get up and stand up. You know, I should have said that at the beginning. Anybody wants to stand up to stay awake in here on Wednesday night, you're welcome to do it. So, lastly, since our time is just about up, I want to again recommend Thanks 1,000: A Gratitude Journey by A.J. Jacobs. It's a wonderful read, and it's cheap at Amazon. And then the other thing is, if you have more interest in the research of the practices, Greater Good Science Center. And then, but most important is you build this into your daily meditation or regular meditation, because what you're cultivating is your appreciation for the life you have right now. There's no guarantee it's all going to be around. And we only got so many moments to be grateful. And then speaking of gratitude, I want to express gratitude that you all have shown up. Jeff, who's in the back, said to me before we started the first series, he said, we never know if there could be one person or a million. Okay. I thought, well, it's probably not going to be a million, but it could be one person, and that's okay. So those of you who have popped in every week or some weeks, I'm really grateful to you, because it allows me to do what I love, and then hopefully really benefits you as well. So I'm going to talk to the boss back there about another series, probably coming in October. We'll see what we can work out. What I'd like to do is a compassion training, but we'll see what we can work out, okay? And then, yep, that's it. So thank you so much. And David, the guardian of the temple, has some words for us.
And as you're getting ready for David's announcements, we are looking for somebody to help host on Wednesdays. So if you want to have the honor of wearing that badge and reading what David's about to read, let me know, because we need some additional help on Wednesdays for our hosts.
Great.
I'm not sure if that's a reflection of how I've been preparing my 2 days. But hey everyone, my name is David. I'm your host for this evening. We opened the Dharma Bum Temple 17 years ago to introduce Buddhist practice to those who show up. Those who lead are not nuns, gurus, masters, priests. They're not looking for students. They're simply practitioners sharing their interpretation of the practice. Every night we have different classes led by different people from various Buddhist traditions. We have a recovery sangha that meets several times a week for anyone struggling with addiction of any kind, and the food redistribution program meets every Thursday at 4:30 downstairs, where sandwiches are made and distributed to those who live on the street. We have classes and programs every day, and everything we offer here is always free. The full schedule is on the website and also posted above the shoe rack outside. There is a lending library. If you see a book you like, feel free to borrow it and bring it back when you are done. Please straighten up your seat or cushion before you leave, and if a few people could help close up the windows, that is appreciated. Thank you for being here, and we hope to see you again soon.
Thank you. Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Bob. Yeah.